The flashbulbs were blinding, but not as blinding as the smile on Julian's face. He stood at the podium, his arm possessively around Isabel, a woman I'd only met in passing a handful of times. She was everything I wasn't. Cool, polished, and undeniably intimidatingly beautiful. Julian's voice boomed through the microphone, the words echoing in the cavernous ballroom, a ballroom that was supposed to be celebrating our engagement. "I'm thrilled to announce my engagement to Isabelle Dubois," he declared, the words hitting me like a physical blow. The champagne flute slipped from my suddenly numb fingers, shattering on the polished marble floor. It was a small sound, easily lost in the murmuring crowd, but to me it was deafening. It was the sound of my world crumbling. My world, the one I had so meticulously built with Julian, the one I had poured my heart and soul into. We had met 5 years ago at a charity gala, a classic meet-cute. He was charming, witty, and seemed genuinely interested in my fledgling tech startup. He offered mentorship, connections, and eventually his heart. I, naive as I was, fell head over heels. We were inseparable. I shared my dreams, my vulnerabilities, my company's proprietary algorithms. He was my confidant, my lover, my everything. Now here he was, publicly discarding me like a used napkin. The crowd erupted in applause, oblivious to the silent earthquake raging inside me. Faces swam around me, a sea of polite smiles and concerned glances. I felt a hand on my arm, my mother's, her eyes wide with shock and confusion. I wanted to scream, to lash out, to demand an explanation, but I was frozen, paralyzed by the sheer audacity of it all. Julian hadn't even bothered to look my way. He was too busy basking in the adoration, his arm tightening around Isabel's waist, as if to claim her, to make her his. Isabel, for her part, met my gaze for a fleeting second. There was a flicker of something in her eyes, not quite sympathy, perhaps. Pity. Or maybe even triumph. I couldn't decipher it. Someone helped me to my feet, steered me towards the exit. I vaguely registered my father's furious whispers, my brother's protective stance. But all I could see was Julian, his perfect teeth gleaming as he raised his champagne glass in a toast. A toast to his new life, a life that excluded me entirely. Outside, the cool night air did little to soothe the burning in my throat. The world seemed to spin, the city lights blurring into a chaotic mess. I stumbled, my father catching me before I fell. "Ava, what happened? What was that about?" he demanded, his voice laced with anger and concern. I couldn't answer. The words were trapped in my chest, choked by disbelief and humiliation. How could he? How could he do this to me? We were supposed to be getting married in 3 months. We had a house, a future, a life planned together. But apparently, all of that was a lie. The next few hours were a blur. My parents took me back to their house, fussing over me like I was a child again. I sat in my old bedroom, staring blankly at the wall, replaying the scene over and over in my head. Each time, the pain intensified, the betrayal cutting deeper. Sleep offered no escape. I tossed and turned, plagued by nightmares. Julian's face, morphing into something monstrous, mocking me, laughing at my naivete. I woke up drenched in sweat, my heart pounding in my chest. The next morning, the reality of the situation hit me with full force. The news was everywhere. Julian's engagement, accompanied by glowing articles about Isabel and her family's vast fortune. There was no mention of me, no explanation for his abrupt change of heart. I was simply erased, as if I had never existed. Then came the email from my lawyer. A curt, impersonal message informing me that Julian was terminating our business partnership. He was taking control of the company, citing irreconcilable differences and a conflict of interest. My company, the company I had built from the ground up, the company I had trusted him with. He was taking it all away. I tried to call him, desperate for an explanation, but my calls went straight to voicemail. I texted, pleaded, begged. Silence. That's when the anger started to simmer, slowly replacing the shock and disbelief. Anger at Julian for his cruelty, anger at myself for being so blind, so trusting. I had handed him everything on a silver platter, and he had used it to stab me in the back. As the sun set, casting long shadows across my childhood bedroom, I made a decision. I wouldn't let him win. I wouldn't let him destroy me. I would rise from the ashes, stronger and more determined than ever. Julian thought he had broken me, that he had taken everything. But he was wrong. He had only lit the fire of revenge.